So you just got your real estate license. What happens next? Now that you have what you worked so hard for and spent so much money to get, what should you be focused on now? How are you gonna balance the personal and the business? Well, that's exactly what we're gonna focus on today. I'm gonna share with you how to get everything done without feeling overwhelmed, without feeling like you're falling behind, but more importantly, how to actually see results. So make sure to stay to the end because I have a gift for you, which is gonna allow you to get your first client within the first 7 days. Now, if we're just meeting, welcome to Agent Startup Academy, where we train the next generation of top producing agents. All right, so let's get started. The most important thing that you as a real estate agent need to focus on now that you have your real estate license is setting your schedule. At this point, you have to, and I mean absolutely have to, define when you're planning to work. We have to establish not only the days, but also the times of when you're gonna be available for your business. In other words, when you're gonna be available for your clients. Because if you don't establish the days and times you plan to work, somebody else is gonna do that for you. Our family, vendors, our broker, our team lead, everybody else is going to put their needs above yours. They're gonna be the ones that dictate when you actually work. And that is one of the most frustrating feelings in this profession that you can ever have. Wanting and desiring to spend time with your family, go and see your kids play soccer, go and participate in a family outing, whatever it is that you want to do. It's so frustrating getting a text from a lead that you absolutely have to work. And unfortunately, they don't know your schedule because guess what? You didn't establish it up front. And unfortunately, a lot of agents just get stuck in this resentment. The reality is that you get to prevent that. You get to work realistically when you want. Now let's get into the steps of actually defining our schedule. And this following process that we're about to go through is one that works whether you're a part-time agent or a full-time agent. And also understand that this will change depending on the season that you find yourself in. So first, let's begin with a brand new week. Now I use Google Calendar because that's where I live. If you use Outlook, that works just as well. Now to get to this view, just open up that calendar and go to the week setting right over here. Now for step number 2, write down all of your obligations. This includes the pickup and drop off of kids, time that you've allocated for the spouse, for family, going to church. Put everything that you possibly can on your calendar. Now it's important that you start out with your personal responsibilities that you have today because you're not gonna stop doing them for the most part. Some of them you will let go, but for the most part, you're not gonna stop doing them simply because you're working. Now, once you've completed step number 2, when we go to step number 3, now you have a very strong visual. Now you get to see realistically how much time you actually have versus how much time you don't. So in step number 3, this is when you get to add in the days and times that you're able to work. Now, pro tip here, having worked with hundreds of agents on this specific exercise, look for 1-hour time blocks. Don't look for 15-minute gaps. That's not realistic. In a blink of an eye, you're done with 15 minutes. Give yourself at least an hour to work. Now, once again, once you add the work component, now you visually see realistically how much time you are going to be working versus how much time you have dedicated for personal life. Now, this brings us to step number 4, and this is where we allow reality to come out. Meaning it is very easy for us, myself included, to overestimate how much we can accomplish in a week, in a day. So it's gonna be very easy for us to say, well, after I get out of school, or after I get out of my full-time work, or after I get through dropping off the kids, I'm gonna go immediately into work mode. So in step number 4, you are refining, you're being realistic. If there are certain times on there that you've allocated to work and you in the heart of hearts know, I'm gonna write this down, but chances of me actually following through are very low. If the chances of you following through and actually working from that 8 to 10 time block at night that you put because you wanted to show more hours on the calendar that you're working, if that's not realistic, get it out of there. Set yourself up so as to win. Make this realistic. Because I can tell you right now that if you overextend yourself in your scheduling from the outset, you're gonna lose momentum and you're gonna be dejected every time you miss one of the things that you committed to do. So refine what you put down. Is there something in your personal life that you can realistically let go? Is there something on the work side that you need to increase or decrease to be realistic? The goal with setting your schedule is not to make things look pretty on a calendar, is to actually do them. Then once you're set with your calendar and are happy with it, set each one of these events into recurring mode. Let the calendar go on and repeat itself. Now, oftentimes, for those of you that have kids, you're gonna need to do this every single semester. You're gonna have your spring calendar, your summer calendar, your fall calendar. You're gonna need to adjust it. Now, I know this sounds extremely simple, and truth be told, it actually is. But having worked with hundreds of agents personally on doing this exact exercise, I can tell you that over 85% of the agents that I have worked with whenever we get started don't have clarity like this, which coincidentally 85% happens to be the failure rate in real estate altogether. Now note that this is just when you're planning to work, what days and what times you're going to be available for your business. The next step to get clarity on is what you're gonna focus on within your working hours. Now the formula is very simple. Just think of 10-80-10. 10% of the time that you're working, you're preparing for the business. This means you figuring out how to speak to buyers, how to speak to sellers, how contracts work, really building and refining your skill set. 80% of the time, you should be focused on getting business. This means you prospecting, following up, and going on appointments. This is you actually getting leads and turning those leads into actual clients. And 10% of the time, at least as you begin, you're gonna be working the business. This is actually the real estating part. This is you showing homes and going under contract. Now, I know that 10% sounds like a small percentage because it is. But the reason that that number is so small is because most likely, as you start out, you don't have a ton of clients. You might be working with one buyer every 2 to 3 weeks versus when you've built your pipeline of business where you're working with 3 buyers in one single day. Now for a brief recap, now you have the days and times you're planning to work. And now you also have what your focus should be every time you're working. And that is 10% of the time preparing for the business, 80% of the time focused on getting business, and then 10% of the time working the business. Now, with that being said, if you want a 7-day accelerator where I show you day by day what to post on social media, what text to send out to your sphere of influence, so you actually get a client within the next 7 days, comment accelerator down below. And if you want to see another simple way to grow your real estate business, check out this video right here.